PS2 games are really cheap right now, and it's not surprising since it's one of the hardest systems to play properly. Backwards compatibility on the PS3 fizzled out after the first run. Yeah, you can buy a few select games on PSN, but you're screwed if you already own the discs. Emulation isn't quite perfect yet, and old or refurbished PS2 systems seem to break easily, and don't really display well on my flat screen, even with component cables. But all that didn't stop me from adding to my already huge PS2 collection, and here are 10 games I bought, all for less than $10 each. Without further ado...
Oh my god, Becky, look at that backlog. It is so big.
Baby got backlog.
Rygar, The Legendary Adventure.
Rygar, The Legendary Adventure.
Hey, I just said that. I played the original NES game once, but it didn't really get a hold on me. So when this came out for PS2, I more or less ignored it. Based on the previews I saw back in the day, I was expecting this to be a low-rent God of War clone, but to my surprise, it's actually a high-rent God of War clone. It bugs me that you can't move the camera at will, but otherwise I like this quite a lot. The action is slick and weighty, there are tons of hidden goodies to search for, there's an RPG-ish leveling system, and large portions of the environment are destructible as well. The music appears to be fully orchestral, which is a bonus and a half, but the acting, well...
Is that the monster from my dream?
No, we are Titans, the true rulers of the Earth.
The less I say about the acting, the better. And while the graphics are nice, damn near everything on the screen is brown. It could use some color variation. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure I'm going to come back to this and play it again sometime. Next... Shadow of Rome. This is a Capcom game that I'd never heard of, which blows my mind. I thought I knew everything Capcom did during the PS1, PS2 era. But if I didn't, I have to assume Capcom didn't have much faith in this and quietly buried it after launch. And if that's true, I honestly have no idea why. Shadow of Rome is a pretty solid game. You play as two characters, Agrippa the Centurion and Gladiator, and Octavianus, nephew to the recently murdered Julius Caesar. Agrippa's father is being framed for the murder, and these two are getting down to the bottom of it in their own unique ways. Agrippa is a combat monkey, while Octavianus is more stealthy, and you take turns playing each of them. It's an interesting game that does a lot of things well, but I can see why it didn't set the gaming world on fire. It's merely pretty good, but not great, and I couldn't tell you if I'll ever play it again. Next... Urban Reign. This bizarre creation is by Namco, and it shows. This brawler feels like a Tekken offshoot, and I would not be surprised if they have some cameo appearances or hidden characters. Basically, you play as Elliot Spencer from Leverage, and you've been hired to beat up all the gangs in a crime-ridden city. But it's not the side-scrolling brawler you're used to. This is somewhere halfway between a brawler and a fighting game. Instead of stages, there are missions, which consist of a single room and a couple of guys to beat up. Rinse and repeat. Between missions, you can level up your stats a little bit and then head right back into the fray. The fighting is solid and enjoyable despite being in 3D, and the acting's not half bad even if the writing is a bit cliched. But like Shadow of Rome, I didn't even know it existed until I saw it on store shelves. It's not bad, give it a look if you like brawlers or fighters. I myself might come back to it. Next... Dark Summit. Well, we're off to a good start. I can't move the cursor on the main menu, so I have to press the start button for the game to register an X button press. Then I got into the game, and now I can't do jumps or grinds or anything. What the hell's going on? So I reset the system, and it stopped reading discs. Yep, my PS2 died. And this was my backup PS2. My first PS2 died months ago. Now I've got two PS2s that don't read shit. Yippee. From here on out, I'm using emulators, but like I said, PS2 emulation is not perfect by any stretch, so take my reviews here with a grain of salt. Your mileage may vary on an actual PS2 console. Let's try this again. Dark Summit. Again. Hey, it's a snowboarding game with a plot involving government cover-ups and possibly alien technology. I could probably swallow all that if I could get into the gameplay. It's not quite as slick as SSX Tricky. The controls are similar to Tony Hawk. You do tricks by jumping and pressing circle, and you do different holds depending on what direction you're holding. The story's completely and the cutscenes are unimpressive, so emulated or not, this game doesn't really grab me, and I'm not likely to play it again. Next.
Legend of the Dragon.
Legend of the Dragon. Ooh, a fighting game. I've been getting into these lately. It should be fun to play a PS2 fighter I've never... Oh god, it's such shit! Such horrible shit! Oh, Caben, why? Why have you forsaken me? The engine is impressively awful. You have about 3 moves. A couple of vaguely comboable punches and kicks which do next to no damage, forcing fights to last forever, although you can set off a transformation that gives you a few more options, such as a special move that can be defended against through a QuickTime event or 2, and as you all know, QuickTime events make games into total shit! Fuck this game. Next. Rebel Raiders, Operation Nighthawk. This is literally the cheapest game on the list at just $2. As such, I was expecting an even worse game than Legend of the Dragon, but to my utter shock, it's actually quite good. It's a flight combat game with an arcadey Star Fox-ish feel to it. The graphics are okay, the music is mostly stock, and the voice acting's not good enough to be engaging, but not bad enough to be noteworthy. The controls are just shy of ideal. I wish turning with the analog sticks was a bit smoother, but it's entirely workable. The gameplay is pretty fast and fun, and that's exactly what I want in a flight combat game. The story is nothing special, but all in all, I got way more than my $2 worth, and I probably will come back to this one again. Next. The Plan. The 3 Plan. The 3 Plan. Whatever. So this is a heist game. You play as a gang of criminals working together to screw over the guy who screwed them over. Each character has different skills, and you'll need to use them separately or simultaneously to accomplish your tasks. So it's kind of like playing episodes of Leverage, though with substantially worse writing. I guess I have been watching a lot of that show lately. Anyway, the graphics are okay, and the music's pretty solid, though like most of the other games so far, the voice acting is merely decent. And as I said, the writing's just alright. None of the characters are really likable enough for me to root for, and the dialogue is nothing special. Having said that, the thrill of pulling off a successful jailbreak is rather enjoyable, and the heists will likely get trickier and more complex from here. Still, I don't know if I'll ever play this again. Next. Baroque. This action RPG is about as JRPGs can get. I've been playing for 20 minutes, and I haven't the vaguest fucking idea what the hell is going on. All I know is that it's kind of awesome. You apparently have to fight your way through this place called the Neuro Tower, again, no idea why, to reach a certain depth. What happens when you get there is anybody's guess. All I know for sure is that this guy has a woman's face on his shoulder, and when she talks, her subtitles appear sideways. That is awesome.
Now you must hurry to the bottom floor.
The gameplay is pretty solid, though I wish the combat was a bit smoother, and a lock-on system of some sort might have helped. Also, I know I haven't made this clear yet, but I wish I knew what the fuck was going on. Otherwise, it's a pretty sweet action RPG with a unique aesthetic, and I'll probably go back and play more. Next. Growlancer Generations. This purchase was a doozy. It's actually 2 games in 1. There's a pair of tactical RPGs here, Growlancer 2 and 3. And they're about people with the ability to use mystical rings that transform into weapons at the user's will. They've both got some impressive pixel art and voice acting, and the first one asked me a bunch of questions to help build my character, which is always cool, but the second game just asked for a blood type and a zodiac sign. But the combat, well, it's sort of loose and hands-off. You can plan a route for your character to take and an action to take when they arrive, but everything happens at the same time, meaning the enemies and your allies will also be moving and acting while you're doing the same. It's a little weird. You have the option to have your entire team automatically controlled by the computer, but that seems even more detached. I don't know, it's not really my cup of tea, but if you like this sort of thing, it seems decent. I won't be playing these again, though. Next. EOE, Eve of Extinction. And this is around where I fixed my PS2. It was a faulty disc lid sensor, so I taped it down. Console repair for the win. Anyway, this final game was played on a real system, not emulated, though I don't think it matters. This game would have been shit regardless. It's an action-adventure starring a dude whose girlfriend has been turned into a sword because of course. The hilariously bad cutscenes, well, I'll let them speak for themselves.
Why don't you come back with us?
Forget it!
Yeah, sorry we can't be part of your plans for world domination. Is now a good time to talk about that retirement plan?
Take this instead!
The combat is really pathetic. You have a quick attack that combos once, or you have a wide swing that can hit multiple enemies but does less damage. This is the weakest laser sword in gaming. It takes upwards of 12 slices to kill even a minor enemy. There's elements of platforming and climbing, but you need to switch to a bare-handed stance to do it, which is poor design. The camera is nearly useless. If you want it to work, you have to hold R2 the whole time to keep it behind you. But all of that is trumped by the fact that this game has QuickTime events, which makes every game they're in total shit. But since this game was pretty much total shit already, it makes this one of the worst games I have ever played. The only way I'd ever play this again is in exchange for a month's worth of constant sexual favors. See you next time.